Greetings. Welcome to TheQueenElle LLC. This is TheQueenElle. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today's video is about palmistry or chiromancy, and that is the study of reading palms. So this is a very exciting topic for me. Now, you may have heard of palm reading either on TV or in a movie, or been to a psychic or palm reader, or seen them advertised wherever you have been. But yes, this really exists, and it's a real practice. So let's dive in. Now, the word chiromancy comes from the Greek word chir, which represents the palm. Okay. Now, Aristotle spoke about palmistry about 2,500 years ago in his literary work, De Historia Animalia, or History of Animals. And he believed that our palms served a purpose, and that we don't have these lines on our palms by happenstance. There's a bit of discussion and some debate as far as whether or not both palms should be read, and the rule of thumb is just that yes, both palms should be read. And if you look at both of your palms, you'll notice that they differ. Now, from a purely biological perspective, one would say that that's because our hands are just not identical. We are not symmetrical from one side to the other. Our feet are not the same size exactly. Our hands are not the same size, etc. So it would make sense from a scientific perspective that our palms would probably differ as well, especially considering most of us are not ambidextrous. So, there may be more wear and tear on one palm versus the other, etc. However, from a spiritual perspective, from an esoteric perspective, there is a difference for a reason. So the thought is that the non-dominant hand, that palm, it reveals your true nature, your true natural personality, while your dominant hand represents you in actuality through the choices that you have made so far in this lifetime and the choices that you have yet to make, since we have free will to chart our own course. Okay. Now, the overall purpose of palmistry and the study of palm reading is to demonstrate one's potential in this lifetime, and to potentially help someone to actualize that full potential, but and to also determine or identify whether or not you are essentially fulfilling it. When reading someone's palm, everything matters, down to the texture of the hand, the shape of the whole hand, the length of the fingers even, as well as the curves, the creases, all of that matters. Now, the depths of the lines or creases in one's hand, they reveal emphasis in certain areas, and likewise the softness or faintness of some of the lines in one's palm would reflect less of an emphasis or less of an impact in that area on one's life. Okay, now let's talk about the lines. So I have drawn this. I hope that that is visible clearly. Now, I have drawn this, and this hand, this would be a right hand, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this would be a right hand, and I have drawn several lines to demonstrate the different aspects of the hand. So there are many aspects, just a lot to unpack, but for the purpose of this video, I have just covered the main lines that will give someone basically an overview of one's life. Okay, so let's dive in. Now, the heart or the love line, So that is the highest horizontal line here. Okay. So if you're looking at your own palm, you can follow along. So, and then I also, again, recommend looking at both of your hands. Now, remember, the non-dominant hand, that would represent your true nature, but the dominant hand would, dominant meaning if you're a right-handed person or left-handed person, the dominant hand is representing your actual life based on choices that you've made throughout the course of your life. So, top horizontal line, that's the heart or love line. It represents romantic and platonic connections with others. It starts below, well, it can either start below the index finger or below the middle finger. If it starts below the index finger, then there's content in relationships. You'll find content in relationships. If it starts below the middle finger, that may signal some restlessness in your relationships. Now, if the line is broken or kind of jagged, then that could signal or indicate multiple lovers or multiple loves throughout your life. Okay, let me just adjust my notes here and we'll move on. So next is the lifeline. The lifeline is this one with the L. It is basically vertical near the thumb. It can either be a straight line, it may be curved, and it depicts your life experiences. So this line, the depth of the line, it indicates how full or satisfying those experiences have been. The length reveals how much others outside of yourself influence your life, and not necessarily how long you will live at all. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And a broken or kind of split lifeline indicates that you would be one who exerts independence over your own life, rather than depending on others or external factors to dictate or to directly impact your life. Okay. Now the next line is the headline. So let's see. The headline is where that H is, and again, I'm drawing the lines in a general sense. The line may look different on your hand or someone else's, but it would be in the same general location. So it can either be curved or straight horizontally. But it would either be horizontal or just have a bit of an arc to it. So it's below the heart line. So the headline, and also it would typically be at the center of your palm. Now, this line, it's called the headline. It represents your intellect as well as karmic lessons to be learned throughout your life. If you have a wavy versus a straight line, the waves would depict more of a free flowing thinker, where straight is, as you can expect or suspect, more of a traditional rigid mindset. Okay, now we have the sun or Apollo's line. It's this line with the S, another vertical line here. These lines, again, do not have to necessarily cross each other. The length may differ as well. This is a general guide. So the sun line, also known as Apollo's line, it depicts fame and your outer image. Now, when the sun and fate lines, let me show you. The sun, and that's the fate line. When the sun and fate lines are close together, so as you see here in this image, they're parallel. When they are close together, or even if they intersect, so they're two vertical lines just running down near the center of the palm. When they are close together or intersect, one's success will be dependent on external factors, either through fame, where the dependence on how famous one is or how successful one is based off of, for instance, sales or views, you know, with this social media era we're in, etc. Like if you have a business, the sales of the business. So that would be dependent on others buying your product or your service. So that's if the lines are close together or if they intersect. So if the lines again are not in close proximity to each other, then that means that the fame or success in one's life would be independent of those external factors. So not so dependent on that. Okay. Now the next line, because we're talking about the sun line, we'll go ahead and talk about the fate line. So this fate line, where that F is, it's horizontal. It's near the center of the palm. It's typically a longer line than that sun line, typically. It's also known as the line of destiny. Now, this line, it also could look like a crease in the palm. See mine here in the middle. It's like a crease. So that line, it typically evolves over one's lifetime. I found information that said this is from a blog that is based in China, that one's fate line or line of destiny would typically evolve about 3 times in one's lifetime. So it's really interesting information. The line, again, it evolves because our palms, they don't stay exactly the same throughout our lifetime. Trust, they actually don't. I would recommend potentially taking pictures of your palms, especially when you are experiencing a pivotal change in your life, just to see the progression or the difference in how your palms look right now versus how they look in the future, to see that change to that fate line or the line of destiny. Now, when your hands are itchy, the thought is that evolution or change could be taking place at that time. I know that there are other spiritual reasons why people, and cultural explanations that people believe for when your palms are itchy, what that means. But regarding palmistry, the thought process is that if your palms are itchy, it's because some sort of evolution or change is taking place, and it will impact that fate line or the line of destiny. Again, just remember with regard to the sun and the fate line and their proximity to each other, that if they are closer together, then that would indicate success being dependent on external factors, while them not being in close proximity to each other would indicate having success independent of external factors. Okay, now let's take a look at the marriage line. Okay, so this one was interesting. If you look at your palm and look at the edge, so it's like a small little line kind of at the edge, at the base of the pinky. Now, this line, some palm readers, they may believe that you can determine the actual length of a marriage based on the length of the line. However, I found some conflicting information, so I'm not sure which is completely accurate with regard to that. But essentially, the marriage line depicts how many loves someone has, like great loves, or marriages, if you want to liken it to a marriage, that one has or will have throughout a lifetime. And you would focus mostly on the most prominent lines. So you might have a line that looks deeper or darker, and maybe have 1 or 2 more lines that are quite faint. So you focus on the deeper one, and you look to see how long it is, not to determine specifically the length of time of that marriage or long-term relationship, but the direct correlation between the length of it across your fingers to determine kind of like how heavy that relationship would be. So let's say your marriage lines are all pretty faint, then that would indicate that you don't place much value or won't place much value in relationships. If you have one where it's pretty deep or dark colored, but the line looks broken, like there's a split in the line, then that could indicate some sort of severing the ties of that long-term relationship. If the line crosses over, like you see how short mine is, if it crosses over all the way across the base of your pinky, then that would indicate that maybe you put most of your focus on relationships, and these are romantic relationships, like you put them above everything else. And then the reverse could be true if your line is not that long as well. If the line passes the base of the pinky and goes onward even longer, then that's considered not optimal, and it would mean that you almost place so much emphasis to your own detriment. Okay. Now, the next one, and this is the last one that I will discuss in this video, is the Mount of Venus. Now, the Mount of Venus, also, above the marriage line, you'll find some little, you may or may not find some little jagged little lines. Let me hold this up a little closer. Just some little bitty lines. So this is at the base of your pinky, and there's some controversy with this as well, but essentially it's thought that that indicates the number of children that you will have, or if you don't have any lines there, you would it would indicate that you would most likely not have children in your lifetime. So I found that very interesting. Not sure how I feel about that, but that is a thought as well. Now to the Mount of Venus. So the Mount of Venus, this is about like our sensuality, our sexuality, emotional connections that we have. And this Mount of Venus, as I say right here, let me see. Okay, it's right there. So we have the lifeline right there. The Mount of Venus is that piece of flesh right there. So the base of your thumb, you would look at that to determine the size of it, just the, whether it's flat or it's like truly like a mound shape in relation to the rest of your palm. There's so much to dive into. Also, it is well known and widely recognized in palmistry to look at the shape of one's hand to align you with a specific element. So we have the 4 elements. We have the air, water, fire, earth, and we know about them with regard to zodiac signs or astrology, but with palmistry, that's a thing as well, and it's based off of the shape of the hand. So it's based off of the size of your fingers in relation to the size of the palm. If your fingers are shorter than in length, then so shorter in length compared to the length of your palm, then that's considered an earth element. Or if you have longer, thinner fingers and a narrow palm, that could be considered a different element as well. And there are personalities that align to those specific elements. So it just gives you a bit more depth with regard to defining and identifying who you are as a person. It's like you can take some of it with a grain of salt, or you can, really dive into it just to learn more about who you are. And I feel like it's a bit fun to also look at other people's, your loved ones' palms, to just to see what resonates and what doesn't. So I hope that this video has been helpful today. It's been a lot of fun for me to research palmistry. Thank you so much for joining me today. Peace. Ashe.